Now, you mentioned you're heavily focused on Vietnam and Southeast Asia. Talk to me about why that's an important market for you.
Yeah, so a couple of things. So me just when I built out NeutronPay in 2018, within 3 to 4 months, I quickly realized that Canada doesn't need a payment like another payment rail, right? Everyone's very used to credit cards, debit cards. The government's somewhat safe, um, and the country's relatively has really good infrastructure, right? So everyone's not going to go change into a different payment method where they could just pull a credit card out of their pocket, pull a debit card out of their pocket. They can tap it, and they're just used to kind of sliding it into those POS devices, right? So to try to train kind of North America or developed countries for a new payment method when there isn't needed really fell short, right? So as soon as I figured that out, I said, "Hey, about Vietnam, right?" I visited it a couple times. It was a growing city, and I have family there, so I just said, "Hey, it's a booming economy." I looked it up. They were in GDP for, you know, top three growing for the last 3 years until COVID hit, and so that kind of sparked a lot of stuff, and I wanted to go over and check it out, and so that kind of spurred me to go over to Vietnam just for a 3 month stint, just to do market analysis, check it out, see if people understood it, maybe provide some education and why you would want to use it, and that turned into 3 years. So I stayed in 3 years. The opportunity was too big for me to leave, and so I ended up doing more education, building more stuff around, getting shops, e-commerce stores, just everything. So putting us as kind of the main first to market mover in Vietnam and Southeast Asia, because this was early 2019, right? And so no one even was even pitching Lightning over in Southeast Asia. They didn't even know what it was. And so kind of having us saying, okay, this is what it is. Here's the education. This is why we're pitching it. And this is why we want to provide another payment rail, because in Vietnam, it's a little different, right? The government is, there's a 50-50 on the government of how people feel about it, right? It's a dictatorship country, so it's ruled by one party, and it's kind of pretty much whatever goes, he says, right? So a lot of people kind of believe that there should be obviously everyone will have their own opinions on kind of how a country should be run and how free speech should be happening, and so that's why there's some people that do trust the government, some people that don't. And so because Vietnam's history of so much war that's it's been through, a lot of people also don't want to hold too much of that currency, and so they have means of trying to figure out what is kind of a hedge just in case, because in their back of their mind, right, it's not a fault of them, it's just they're part of a history where they had money, they went to war, and they completely lost it. There was no hedge, there was nothing, and they completely had to start over. And this was a couple times, right? So, I meaning, don't want to go too back far in history, but like, the U.S. war that happened, but even before the U.S. war, there was, the French war, which was like way back in, but then we also had a Cambodian war as well. And so just kind of those generations instilling these things into the next generation was protect your money, right? Protect your wealth. We don't know if, one day you can wake up and it's gone. It's completely gone. So figure out other means and methods that you can use to make sure you don't lose all that wealth, right? And so that's kind of instilled with a lot of people here. So me coming here and saying, here's this new payment rail. It's open, it's global, it's on the most secure network in the world. People gravitated to it. So the first questions they ask is, can the government come in and go take my money? I said, no one can take it unless someone comes up to you and says, give me your keys, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was very attractive to a lot of people. So even if you look at, people don't like this, but if you look at chain analysis, chain analysis will show you for the last, I think it was last year that they did it, but Vietnam was number one in transacting, buying Bitcoin on the network. So Vietnam was number one. So I call Vietnam like the sleeping giant. It's not very loud about it, but a lot of people here know about it, right? And they use it as a tool, and they use it as, I believe, right? I believe they use it as a hedge, and they believe they use it as a way of a means to have kind of being involved in both worlds, right? Because if people haven't been to Vietnam, there's a lot of, I would say, hardship here, right? Because there's not really a lot of support because of the vast amount of population, right? To give you an idea, there's 100 million people in Vietnam, right? And so managing a country like that and trying to provide means while trying to develop the country at the same time, trying to grow it, trying to take care of people, but also trying to make sure that there isn't any corruption, trying to clean up the corruption, all that stuff, right? In building a developing country, puts you to the side, right? So if you don't have a well-defined job, you don't have a well-defined skill, a lot of people joke here, either you just open a coffee shop or you open something on the street, right? So if you've ever been to like any Asian country, you can walk down like a street and you'll see all these street shops, right? And everyone's selling something, right? So the hustle is real, and everyone's just trying to make it in life, right? And so Bitcoin is kind of that silver lining for them, right? The people that do understand it, they'll take their funds and they put their savings in it. And so some of the people that's changed, like some of the people I met here, changed a lot of their life, right? And that was way back in, they're telling me stories way back in like 2013, 2014, where they're just putting $20 in every month. They put $20, $20, $20, and they just rocketed it up after the downturn in 2013. But that's changed a lot of people's lives, right? So they went from $20 to making $400 a month to now they wouldn't tell me their net worth, but they're sitting comfortably. So it's literally changed their life, right? So kind of telling them now that they can spend some of that in certain ways is very attractive to them.